Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Chosen Totem. I'm your host Jacob Saylor, and today we're going to be doing something that's a little bit more intimate and long form. We're going to be looking at my comic book collection. I'll explain why some of them are important along the way, and if I have any historical footnotes, I'll be sure to give those to you as well. At any rate, let's take a look at them and have a good time. But we're going to start off with Shazam number 1. Now, I know a lot of you are probably thinking this is the first appearance of Shazam. Well, it's really not the first appearance of Shazam. It is the first appearance of Shazam in DC Comics. Now, if you're not really familiar with comic book history, this is actually something I had to go and learn. Shazam was originally published under Fawcett Comics. Now, eventually, Fawcett Comics was disbanded, and DC bought the rights to the Shazam character. For a long time, there was a debate between who was stronger, who was the more powerful superhero, and Fawcett Comics said that it was Shazam, DC Comics said that it was Superman. Well, you know, they finally had to come to the conclusion, and ironically, you have both of the characters here on the same cover after Shazam got bought out by DC Comics and Fawcett was disbanded. And in this comic, I think they solidify the fact that Superman at this time was the more powerful superhero. So this was published in '73, got graded an 8.5. I think that's a good grade for this comic book. I didn't want to pay the outrageous price for the 9.8. And if you know anything about me and the comic books I collect, I don't ever try and, be too overzealous in my purchases when it comes to the actual grade of the book. When it's signed or something, it's a different story, which brings us to the next comic book in this collection. What we have here is DC Comics Presents 26. Now, this is one of my crown jewels for my comic book collection. I am absolutely in love with this comic book. I think I may have paid a little bit too much for it, but I had just come into a little bit of cash at the time, and the Teen Titans are one of my favorite groups in comic book history. I actually went back and rewatched the series, the 90s series I believe it was, maybe it was early 2000s, last year. Now, what is special about this comic book though is that it is signed by Marv Wolfman and George Perez, and you can see their signatures here, the creators, artists, and whatnot of this series. Now, graded a 9.4. I really did not care about the grade too much when I went into it, and a 9.4 is a lot less than what a 9.8 would have cost, and honestly, I'm not sure if a 9.8 signed copy even exists. It probably does, but I didn't see one on eBay at the time. But this price would have been comparable to something like a 9.0. So, I'm very proud of this comic book. You have the first appearance of Raven, Cyborg, and Starfire. Obviously, the other Titans, Robin and Beast Boy, or Changeling, as he's known in the comic book world, did not appear in this. They appeared much earlier. So what we have here is the, New Teen Titans number 2. So this is the series that spawned after the DC Comics Presents 26. This was published in 1980. And the reason this is special is because it is the first appearance of Deathstroke the Terminator. You may know him as Slade from Arrow. He's been in seasons 1, 2, and 3, and he may have been in 4. I'm not sure if that's even out yet. Also, it's special because it's the first appearance of Trigon. It is not listed here, but Trigon is Raven's father, and he will be appearing in the upcoming Teen Titans movie. So, just gonna go ahead and move on. All right, so I got this one pretty recently. This is the first appearance of Apocalypse, and man, I should have got this a lot earlier. I kind of fooled myself into thinking that the price for this comic wouldn't go up that much, but I'm a dummy, and it obviously did. I got a 9.2. I could have gotten a 9.8 much earlier for a much lower price, but again, I'm a dummy. And first appearance of Apocalypse. He's one of the biggest baddies in the Marvel universe, and he's probably the biggest baddie in the X-Men universe. That's really all there is to say about this. X Factor number 6, published in 1986, and we're just going to go ahead and move on. This is my Amazing Spider-Man number 300. Now, this is the origin and the first full appearance of Venom, who, as we know, is probably, the biggest enemy that Spider-Man has ever had to tango with. What you also should know about this comic book is it is one of 4 that I sent off to get graded by the CGC. I was saddened to see that it got graded an 8.0. I think the comic book personally is a much higher grade than that. I would have given this a 9.0 or at the very least an 8.5, but maybe there was some flaw inside that I didn't see, but it says it has white pages, so I have no idea. But definitely saddened by the 8.0. It's one of the lowest grades in my collection, and Venom is one of my favorite villains. Anyways, so what we have here is the Uncanny X-Men 266, graded a 9.0. First appearance of Gambit. Mystique appears in the comic book. I honestly thought, again, the CGC sort of tore me a new one. It's a 9.0, but I would have given it probably a 9.4. I actually had this one graded by my local comic book store as a 9.4. But a 9.0 is, respectable, and I'm not super saddened over it like I am the Venom one, because the Venom one cost me a lot to get. At any rate, moving on. I bought the comic book off of eBay ungraded when the guy said it was a 9.2 near mint comic, and he was pretty close. I sent it into the CGC. I only took it out of the bag and board once, right when I got it. This is the first appearance of Deadpool, if you didn't know. It's New Mutants 98, published in 91, and this 9.0 right now could go for somewhere upwards of $300, below $400, and I think I got it for like $275 ungraded. So I'd make a few dollars if I decided to sell this now, but again, this is one comic that I originally thought would be worth more. All right, so this might have a little bit of a glare on it. It came in this protective wrapper, which I didn't want to take off because it's really nice. It's like a condom for your comic books. Anyways, Amazing Spider-Man number 361. I usually only get signed comics when I really value the characters inside of that comic book. This is the first appearance of Carnage, otherwise known as Cletus Cassidy. It is graded a 9.6. Honestly, I should have gone for a 9.8 because this has the capacity to go up in price quite a bit. But 9.6 was actually quite a bit less at the time. Published in 1992, and this is signed by Mark Bagley. It's kind of hard to tell where the signature is on this comic book. It's intertangled with all the webs here, but it's right there. It's a very small signature, but honestly, I don't care as long as I know it's signed and it's signed by the person who it says it's signed by. So, very happy with this comic book. It is one of my favorites in my collection, and it was also one of the least expensive. So, I'm going to go ahead and move this out of the way. We have Spawn number 1, 9.6. I think this comic could go up in value a lot in the coming years. I think there's a movie on the way, although the news for that has sort of gone into the ether. It is the first appearance of Spawn, which really surprised me because you hear about Spawn so much, so you figure he's an older character, but he's really not. 1992, in fact. Story, cover, and art all done by the amazing Todd McFarlane. And yeah, there's not really much else to say about this except that it's an amazing comic book, and it was extremely cheap. It is The Man of Steel number 18, published in 92, and it is white pages, graded as a 9.2. I didn't feel the need to get this in exceptional condition, but it's the first appearance of Doomsday, and Doomsday is going to be in the upcoming Batman vs. Superman movie as the villain, or at least that's what we're all expecting. He hasn't been named yet, but if you look at the trailer, it's really hard to deny that fact. So, as I said, we're going to try and move on a little bit faster here. This is Batman number 655, so we jumped all the way from 92 to 2006. So, one of the coolest things about this comic book is that it is the first appearance of Damian Wayne, who is the son of Batman, or Bruce Wayne. It is graded a 9.4, and really not much else to say about this. I mean, Joker appears in the comic book. Talia Al Ghul, who is Ra's al Ghul's daughter, appears in here. But those are not first appearances, just appearances. Okay, so that's about it for this one. All right, so we actually jump another 6 years here, all the way up to 2012. This is The Walking Dead number 98, and it is the... I guess if you haven't been watching The Walking Dead, there's probably not going to be any spoilers. This won't be a spoiler because the show is so different. But for this comic book and the one following after, there may be a spoiler. So I would maybe think about just skipping ahead for about maybe 2 minutes in this video, if you don't want a spoiler here. But this is the death of Sergeant Abraham Forward, and really, this, I don't know if this should be in my collection. It's just a 9.6, and it's really not that special. But if indeed Abraham ends up dying in this upcoming season, it could very well go up in values. This is another one of my crown jewels, and I originally had a 9.8 unsigned copy, but Negan is one of my favorite characters in the Walking Dead universe, and this is just one of the most insane issues of The Walking Dead ever, maybe the most insane. Published in 2012, almost directly after The Walking Dead number 98. This is issue 100. It's a variant cover, but I don't really care about the cover. I just care about the contents of the comic book. It is signed by both Robert Kirkman and Charlie Adlard, graded as a 9.8. It's the first appearance of Negan and Lucille, which is Negan's baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire, and it is the death of Glenn. Now, a lot of people have a lot of different theories about this upcoming season of The Walking Dead. If it follows anything close to the comic books, and this book in particular, there's going to be some crazy things going down. Again, one of my favorite books in my collection, maybe my favorite. Negan's my second favorite villain of all time. Only person who beats him is the Joker, but I can't ever afford that book, so we're just going to go ahead and move on. We have Sex Criminals number 1. I got it for the sole reason that a TV show about it's coming out. It's graded as a 9.6. It's the first appearance of some characters, Susie Dixon, John Johnson, and Rochelle Jackson. The art on it's pretty darn cool. I've gotten some weird looks. Why do you have this Sex Criminals book? And I always have to explain there's a TV show coming out, and I didn't want to get left behind. Maybe it'll turn into a Walking Dead book one day, but I doubt it. Next, we have a series I got for the same reason I got the Sex Criminals book. However, one thing I will say about this is that I enjoy it much more than Sex Criminals. It is The Woods, done by James Tynion, and it is issue number 1, published in May, I believe, of 2014. I guess this is the first appearance of a multitude of different characters. They just couldn't list these here because there were so many. I actually like the other cover for this book more, and I got this book for the same price as a signed 9.8 of that other cover, which makes me kind of sad. But I have a copy. It's a 9.8, and if it ever jumps up in value, I have it. And I actually enjoy the series, so it's an enjoyable book to have for me. This is probably my favorite series right now. And if you haven't read this book, or if you don't know anything about it, or this series, you certainly need to get with the program. It is Outcast number 1, first appearance of Kyle Barnes. I think there's another first appearance or two in there. Maybe they're not major characters enough to be listed there yet by the CGC. But it's graded as a 9.8. I was actually a little bit worried about this book. I'm going to try and lean it over. It's a bit more thick at the top here than other CGC cases, but I think that's only because this has more content in it than a lot of the other books, and the pages are a bit more thick. This is done by Robert Kirkman and the same team as The Walking Dead. Well, not the exact same team, but a lot of the same people worked on this series as did The Walking Dead. So, amazing book, amazing content, and I think that when the TV show comes out for this, this will for sure go up in value. I was not sure about the other ones I've shown you, but holy cow. This is published in November of 2014, and this is a comic I sent to get graded by the CGC, graded a 9.6, and first appearance of the new Spider-Woman. This is the alternate universe Spider-Woman, and she is Gwen Stacy, if you didn't know. This book has actually gone up quite a bit in value. The reason it got graded a 9.6 instead of a 9.8, I think, is because there's a little smudge here. It's really hard to see, and I got the ungraded copy off of eBay. It's my fault. I knew when I sent it in it might not get a 9.8 because of that, but I'm just glad they didn't take any more off of it than they could have. So, I got super lucky with this book, okay? I literally got this book for probably, I want to say $40, I can't remember. It is the first full appearance of Alpha, who is the big villain after Negan. It's published in 2015, so just last year in March. Walking Dead number 138. Graded a 9.8. I am not going to say too much about Alpha. I'm just going to say that there are very big things happening with that character, and she's responsible for, well, I say she, but it could be a he as well. Quite responsible for quite a few big things in the Walking Dead universe, and it's certainly a big issue, and it's poised to go up in value quite a bit. I think someone actually went on eBay recently and bought all of the CGC graded ones that were above a 9.0. So it's hard to find this book now. Alright, so I'm not going to spend hardly any time on my ungraded books, but I am going to show you. We have the first appearance of Morlun, who in the Arrow series is known as Malcolm Morlun. This is the Justice League of America, and it is number 94. We have World's Finest Comics. I think it's issue 251, and this is the first appearance of Count Vertigo. Not worth a whole lot, and it's pretty bad shape, but I just like collecting first appearances. This is the Avengers. I'm not sure which issue. I think it's kind of like a preview type deal. It is the first appearance of Rogue. Again, this isn't in great shape, but I own it, and I'm happy to have it. Again, also, these comics are in chronological order. This is the New Teen Titans issue number 23. It is the first appearance of Starfire's sister, Blackfire, and it's certainly got a little weird bondage element to it. So, interesting comic book to have, very likely to go up in value in the future, and it's actually, this comic is in pretty darn good shape. This comic has gone up exponentially, and I wish I had a better copy of it. There's a huge dent down here. Tales of the Teen Titans is a Judas Contract. It's issue number 44. First appearance of Nightwing. Yes, very exciting book. So, yeah, fun to have. This is number 8 of Secret Wars, the original Secret Wars. It's in really good shape. I would say it's like a 9.2. But this is actually the first appearance of the Venom symbiote. It's not the origin of the suit so much as it is the symbiote. So, definitely get that right, guys. Okay, this comic is in amazing shape. I would say this is maybe even a 9.6 or 9.4, but this is the first appearance of Cletus Cassidy, okay? So this is the guy who eventually becomes Carnage, and I think this is even Eddie Brock down here as Venom. So it's kind of like an ode to the future in that sense. Very happy to have this book. Very great shape. And I might send this in for grading one day. I'm not so sure why this is an amazing book, but I really like it. It is the first team-up of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's not a first appearance of anyone per se, but it is the first team-up. The first appearance of the X-Force. There's a movie coming out for this, and it's probably like a 9.0. I'm happy to have this book. Might send it in for grading one day. So this is the first Carnage cameo. This is issue 360, and up next is 361. So that's the first appearance of Carnage, the first full appearance. This has Cardiac in it. I don't know much else about it, why it's special. This isn't the original grade. It's actually in much better shape than an 8.0. I actually have an extra copy of the first full appearance of Carnage. If you're interested in this book, I'd be more than happy to trade it. Same goes here. I have another first full appearance of Doomsday. It's in pretty darn good shape. So if you're interested in those books, just let me know in the comment section below. I have 2 copies, yes, of the first appearance of Shriek. It is the first in the Maximum Carnage series of 14 comic books. I got this published in 1996. It is the first appearance of Ozymandias. Ozymandias is in alliance with Apocalypse, and I imagine he will be in the movie even if it's only a short time. Yeah, this is good shape, fun to have. Okay, so another comic book's in amazing shape, and I'm extremely happy to have it. I searched for this comic book for a long time, to be honest with you, for a price that I thought was acceptable. I was in Connecticut when I got this book. Graded a 9.6 by the guy who sold it to me, and honestly, I agree with his grade. It's in really good shape. It is the first appearance of Morlun, and it's issue number 30 in volume 2, or 471 overall. So amazing comic book here. I wouldn't trade this for much of anything. All right, so we have Detective Comics number 783. I love the art on this book. It's the first appearance of Talia al Ghul, another amazing book that I think has the capacity to go up in value, and let me see, it's actually in really good shape. Okay, I have an extra copy of the first appearance of Damian Wayne, which I had in CGC earlier. You're more than happy to make an offer for this. I would say this book is probably a 9.6. It's in really darn good shape. I have a first appearance of Silk, which I got for like $6. A small rip here, which probably deducts it to like an 8.5 or an 8.0. Definitely looking for a better copy of this. So if you have one, let me know. We have Ultimate Fallout number 4, first appearance of Miles Morales as Spider-Man. I think this is a really interesting book. The supply for this book is it's not short at all, so I don't think it'll ever go up in value that much. Same story for this book. We're right around the time where comic book production has gone into an all-time high. So this is the first appearance of Telos. It's Convergence number 0, which is probably the most rare of the Convergence books, but that is sort of irrelevant because none of them are rare. Telos is the guy who was brain controlled by Brainiac. Very interesting book. I just like Telos a lot as a villain, and I think he had a little bit more depth than a lot of the recent DC villains. So, interesting book. I like having it. Jesus, that took forever. Anyways, thank you so much, guys, for sticking with us through that. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed my commentary, that's cool as well. Go to the comment section below and let us know if you know of another amazing comic book collection video. Put that link down there. I want to see that. I want to become more ingrained into the comic book community because there are so many amazing people and amazing sites to see. So, from Joseph Totem, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.